my job is every day on Kababayan LA, we meet, or I meet, very inspiring Kababayans that are not only doing well for themselves, also taking the community with them. And John Carlo is one of them. John Carlo is the president and co-founder of Flancy Group, and that is an advertising, marketing, and events company. John Carlo, earlier we talked about the need for more of our Kababayans to get into advertising. Is there anything innate in the Filipino culture and trade that might make us or help us excel in this industry?
Well, I think first you start off with school. You got to go to school, and that gives you kind of the foundation and gives you the tools so that when you go into the field that you know what you're doing. Second is to get some experience, take some internships. It's very important for you to gather experience and understand what discipline that you're going to be excelling in.
When you talk about going to school, is there a particular course or major that people need to focus on?
Well, what we would say is marketing would be one, or going into communications. Some will focus in PR specifically. So it kind of depends on the discipline that you're interested in.
Of course, aside from experience and education, what makes a guy a good advertiser?
Well, again, I think it depends on your discipline. One is being resourceful. Secondly is also being able to be organized, and as well as being creative, because being creative is how we come up with our campaigns.
And is there anything about being Filipino that helps you? Say, for example, you know, your background is Filipino, heritage is Filipino, and so I think that already in itself gives you a specialty, like, you know, a background that gives you, you have a different perspective of things, right?
That's right. That's
yeah?
right. Well, because I'm an Asian American advertising, being Filipino really gives me a good understanding. It helps me be authentic. It helps me, gives me insights to knowing what the demographic is looking at, you know, specifically when we're talking about Filipinos. You know, I know the segmentation. I understand. I know how to reach them. I know what really touches them.
Right. Well, some Kababayans also want to get into this, but they fear the ceiling. Is it still there? The glass ceiling?
I think it depends. It depends on where you're going. If you're in a general market agency, you'll definitely find a ceiling. There's always a barrier or an area that you can't excel in or get past.
Right. And what you did was you co-founded your own.
That's
Is
right.
that easier, more difficult than, say, the route of just getting into an established company?
Sure. Well, I always say this. One of the hardest things is to start your own company. It's pretty difficult. Sometimes going into an established agency will be a lot easier for people that are aspiring to go into the ad agencies or you know, ad industry, for example. But if you are driven and you have the ability to put people together and really go for it.
Right.
I definitely encourage you to start your own agency.
So let's set expectations now. When you talk about sacrifice and difficulties, what are those? What are those that they might encounter that they should prepare for?
Time. Time is number one. You give up your time because you're not only working during the day, you're working at night. Also, just being able to be a motivator. You know, when you're running your own agency, you're dealing with employees. You're making sure that they are also doing and reaching their potential.
And I've heard this before too, when you say time, because I know we're very busy, and sometimes, like you said, you don't just work during the day, you work during at night too, at events. I've heard this before, and how true. Suit up and show up all the time, or do you pick which events to go to?
Well, for me, I do go to a lot of events. I try to go to as many as possible, of course, you know, taking into my personal life as well. I mean, I definitely have to choose and pick which ones to go to.
Right.
But, you know, it's very, very important that you need to be out there. You got to be networking, and you need to be able to represent the agency wherever possible.
So what are the rewards? Aside from sacrifices, I'm sure there are, you know, rewards to the industry, to the career that you have.
Right. I think the biggest reward is that I give back to the community. You know, I'm representing the Filipino Americans, you know, being an executive, and I get to aspire or inspire other Filipino Americans that are looking up to me. But it's also being able to give back, you know, utilizing different Asian Americans, you know, not only as employees, but also in production, also looking at them in creatives. But we utilize vendors that are all Asian American as well, and that's really something that I really like to do.
And I think you also get experience from servicing and dealing with people from Fortune 1000 companies, because that's a specialty of your company as well. What do you learn from them? How do you make it work? How do they make it work?
It's really interesting. I think what I do like about working with different companies and different industries is that I get a glimpse or an insight to how different companies work. So from pharmaceuticals to telecommunications to financials. I mean, it makes the job very, challenging, very different at times, and it makes it a lot of fun.
And so we consider you a hero to our community. What is your definition of a hero?
Well, I think, to many people, a hero is somebody that gives back and is selfless. Is a person that doesn't look for themselves, but looks to others to help gravitate and push them up. Exactly. And that's really what I look to do. And
that is why we are so grateful for you, for representing, grateful to you as well for representing our community. Thank you so much, and more power.
Thank you.
Another hero when we return on Kababayan LA. Don't go away.